How do we know if I'm doing too much negative self-talk or too much positive? What does that all mean, and how do we do it?
First thing I'm going to say is we should not be distinguishing categories of positive versus negative.
Amazing.
It should be
I
whether
screwed it
it's
up right out the gates.
It should be whether it's effective or not effective. That's the big thing.
Because it can be negative but effective.
Exactly.
And positive but ineffective.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So it's not about negative or positive. We'll take that off the table. Is this effective for you or not effective for you? If you and I were to start, I would ask you to write down the names of 2 or 3 people in your life who you really admire, you really trust. You know they've got your back. They could look you in the eye and say anything to you, and you know it's coming from a place of, they want me to do well. 2 out of those 3 are people you should know personally. 1 could be someone you so look up to in a field because of what they've accomplished that you just have that much admiration and respect for what they've done. So I would start with, okay, let's identify 2 or 3 people who would be those individuals for you. I think it's really important first to start with those 2 or 3 people. And then I'm going to ask you to think about a scenario that you might find yourself in that one of your best friends might be in. So something that you might find yourself in, but have someone else in that scenario. And they're struggling, or they're stressed about it, or they're feeling anxious about it, or they're worried about it. What would you say to them? What would you say to them? So one of the most powerful aspects of self-talk is psychological distancing. Psychological distancing is when we're in that moment emotionally and we want to create some distance from that. And the place from which we're talking or listening to ourselves in our mind, we can create some distance, and that usually comes with it being a lot more effective. Psychological distancing. So you've got first person self-talk, which is I. There's second person self-talk, which is you or your name. And then you've got third person self-talk, which is a whole other person. And one thing that we found to be super effective is to come out of a place of the first person self-talk, at least to a place of talking to yourself. Andy, when you said the difference between self-talk and coaching, that's what came to my mind is they're the same thing.
Interesting.
You should be coaching yourself. It's the same. That's what your self-talk ought to be. Most of us actually are probably really, really good at your best friend's dealing with something. We know exactly what to say. Why? Because we're not in the emotion of it. And if we can practice self-talk tools that distance ourselves from the I and what I'm feeling to the you, it can be a very, very, very powerful thing. If you go back to the names that you wrote down on the piece of paper, and I want listeners to maybe pause for a moment. And if you were to write down the list of 2 or 3 people who are really, really powerful in your life, and then if you're in a situation that's bringing you stress or something, imagine what one of those individuals would say to you, and imagine it in their voice and them using your name to say it. It could be massively, massively powerful. That's the greatest psychological distance that we can get. Number 1, it comes from not in a place of emotion, but number 2, it comes from an authority who we trust and who we believe in. That person can be with you up on that building if it's Alex Honnold, or that surfboard if it's a big wave surfer, or that baseball pitcher who just, walked the last 3 batters and thinks he's about to get pulled. Like, imagine going to that person in your mind. The self-talk piece is so, so powerful. There's some evidence that what we're thinking is a bigger predictor of our confidence than anything else. What we're thinking in the moment is a bigger predictor of confidence than any other thing that could have brought us confidence. There's some evidence that what we're thinking in the moment is a bigger predictor of our happiness than any other factor. Money in the bank, who we're with. It's powerful, those type of thoughts. So do a lot of work first reflecting on when we're in our performance environments, what are the type of things that we say to ourselves? And not as a positive or negative, but does that help me? Does that hurt me, and why? A lot of reflection of that, and then learning some of these tools where we can start to separate ourselves from our own voice and bring in either coaching ourselves or talking to ourselves. If you have a nickname for yourself, use that nickname. My nickname has been Lendog since I was a kid. Everywhere I've ever moved to, people have called me Lendog without knowing that the other groups of people in my life have said that. So if I'm stressed, I'm going to refer to myself as Lendog in my mind because it actually really focuses me and it really gets me super like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm Lendog.
That was an incredible, incredible tip. I can tell you right now, I'm going to start using that. I am someone, and it doesn't matter that it's about me, but I am someone who really enjoys, well, I'll just call negative feedback at this point. Actually, it doesn't really get me emotionally in the wrong spot. It's a very positive thing. Like I really enjoy breaking down my own
effective
stuff.
feedback.
Super effective. But I've never thought about using that second person approach, which again, I'll tell you right now that I'm going to do that. That's incredible. I'm going to start using that coaching wise as well. Is it because it allows you to detach a little bit from the situation and it's no longer about you and self-worth or anything like that? It is simply an objective assessment of what needs to happen. So it isn't as hard to take. Is that a fair kind of Andy way to say that?
Yeah, the first person is very reactive.
See how I said Andy right there, by the way?
Oh yeah, see, already working.
Yeah.
Do you have a nickname? That would have been even better.
No, Andy would be good. Ask my daughter, you'll get a different answer. And
so part of it is because if we are just letting thoughts come passively, which is what happens. A lot of our thoughts are very passive, reactive, emotional thoughts. Most of those fall under the category of ineffective. Whether they're positive or negative, they probably do. So bringing that distance perspective, that self-talk perspective, reduces some of the emotion associated with. Also, if I'm the person dealing with something and you have an opportunity to say something to me, you're not going to beat me up over it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to say anything that you think the intention is to make me any worse or feel worse about what. So we're actually really good about doing that. The exercise of writing down the names first, number one. Number two, I did this in a class recently at Berkeley. I had a chance to be in the classroom for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, you're retired for the record.
I'm retired. And it was in a class it was an entrepreneur class. And I would ask these students at Cal, like, think of scenarios that you find yourself in over the course of a semester that are very challenging for you. Now, write down the name of a really good friend who you also know are in those scenarios, so a teammate or whatever. And then when they're in it and they shoot you a text, and they express the negative emotion they're feeling, what's your response to them? You know exactly what you need to say. So use that with yourself a lot more often. Very, very powerful tool. If you're looking for a good reference on it, Ethan Kross, he's at University of Michigan. He's wrote a book called Chatter. And it's one of the books that I loan out to athletes a lot. I usually don't loan out books. For some context, at Fullerton, before I retired from Fullerton, I had a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf full of books. And when I moved, I donated a lot to the lab and I gave a lot away, but I only brought the books I really wanted to keep. And then in my office, I have very little space. I have 2 small rows of books. So anything in that bookshelf.
Precious real estate.
Yeah. Chatter is one of them.
Amazing.
And I have 2 copies of the same book, The Inner Game of Tennis, written by Timothy Galway in 1977. It was the first book I ever read that was anything having to do with sports psych. It's remarkable. I have the original and I have the updated version of it. So anyway, we're reading off a little tangent.
No,
but Chatter is one of those books that give really good insight and sort of like exercises on how to hone that craft of self-talk.
If you enjoyed this clip, you can watch the full episode by clicking here.